I need you to stop what you are doing right now because in the next 48 hours you are going to witness either the total collapse of Trump's domestic agenda or the most brazen act of political hostage-taking in modern American history at 12:01 a.m. Saturday morning, January 31st, 2026, roughly 78% of the federal government will run out of money. The Department of Defense, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Education, Treasury, Transportation, Labor, Housing, all of them dark, and the reason they are going dark is not because Congress cannot agree on a budget. It is because Donald Trump's own party is fracturing over an agency that just shot two American citizens dead in the streets of Minneapolis. The United States Senate is tearing itself apart over immigration and customs enforcement. And the president, who demanded absolute loyalty, is watching helplessly as Republican senators, one by one, begin to walk away. If you care about what happens to this country, subscribe right now and turn on notifications because what I am about to show you is not speculation. This is constitutional crisis unfolding in real time. Let me walk you through exactly how we got here and why this shutdown is different from every other funding fight in American history. On January 22nd, the House of Representatives passed the final appropriations bills needed to fund the government through September. 6 bills bundled together in what they call a minibus: defense, labor, health and human services, education, transportation and housing, State Department, Treasury, and Homeland Security. The vote was 222-207 on the Homeland Security portion. Every single Democrat voted no, but it passed. And it was sent to the Senate, where everyone expected smooth sailing. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, had the votes. The White House had signed off. The bill included everything Trump wanted: $10 billion more for ICE, expanded detention capacity, full funding for the border wall. It was supposed to be a victory lap. Then Saturday happened. January 25th, 2026, Minneapolis. A 37-year-old nurse named Alex Pretty was at a protest outside a hotel where federal agents were conducting immigration operations. Pretty was an ICU nurse at the Veterans Administration Hospital. He served veterans. He was a licensed gun owner in the state of Minnesota, carrying, legally. Videos verified by multiple news organizations show what happened next. Federal agents, masked, unidentified, began pushing protesters. Pretty approached to help a woman who was being shoved. Within seconds, agents sprayed him with chemical irritant, pinned him to the ground, and shot him 10 times. He died on the street. The Trump administration's response was immediate and catastrophic. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem called Pretty a domestic terrorist. Border Patrol officials claimed he was trying to kill federal agents, but the videos show something different. They show Pretty holding a phone in his right hand and nothing in his left before he was shot. They show an agent reaching into the scuffle empty-handed and emerging with a gun, then turning away as the shots were fired. This was the second American citizen killed by federal agents in Minneapolis this month. 3 weeks earlier, ICE shot and killed Rena Good, a poet, in her car. When Chuck Schumer walked onto the Senate floor Monday morning, he did something Democrats have not done in years. He drew a line. Senate Democrats, he announced, will not provide the votes to proceed on the appropriations bill if the DHES funding is included. The exact words were, "This madness, this terror must stop." He was not asking for minor adjustments. He was demanding structural reform of ICE before a single dollar of new funding goes through. And because the Senate requires 60 votes to advance appropriations, and Republicans only hold 53 seats, Schumer just handed his party a veto. The government cannot be funded without Democratic cooperation, and Democrats are refusing to cooperate until ICE is brought to heel. On Wednesday afternoon, Schumer emerged from a closed-door Democratic caucus meeting and laid out 3 demands, not a wish list, not a negotiating position. 3 conditions that he said his entire caucus had unified behind. First, end the roving patrols, the random checkpoints, the masked agents stopping cars and demanding papers. Democrats want stricter warrant requirements and mandatory coordination with state and local law enforcement. Second, enforce accountability, a uniform federal code of conduct for ICE agents, independent investigations into abuse. The same use of force standards that apply to local police must apply to federal agents. Third, masks off, body cameras on. Every ICE agent must be identifiable. Every interaction must be recorded. No more anonymous enforcement squads operating like paramilitaries in American cities. Now here is what makes this different from every other shutdown fight. John Thune does not have his party behind him, not completely. Not anymore. On Wednesday, multiple Republican senators began publicly suggesting that they would be willing to separate the DHES funding from the other 5 bills. Let the defense bill pass, let health and human services pass, let education and transportation and everything else move forward, and deal with Homeland Security separately. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, a member of the Appropriations Committee, told reporters, "A sensible individual would suggest that we pass what we can and address the remaining issues later." Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota said, "We understand that inaction leads to a government shutdown, which is undesirable for everyone. If we can push 5 of the 6 bills forward, that would fund over 90% of the government." Senator John Hoeven of North Dakota said, "If Democrats are fine with 5 of the 6 bills, we should find a way to accomplish those. Do you understand what you are witnessing?" Republican senators are openly discussing abandoning the Homeland Security funding bill. They are calculating that it is safer to fund 90% of the government and fight about ICE later than to shut everything down defending an agency that just killed 2 American citizens. And Susan Collins, the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, is in the middle of it all. Collins represents Maine, where ICE agents have also been conducting aggressive operations. She told reporters on Tuesday that she personally called Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and urged her to pause the surge of enforcement in Minnesota and Maine. She said, and I quote, "I believe in a rush to get agents out to the field that their training has not been as thorough and extensive as it should be." A Republican appropriations chair is questioning the competence of Trump's deportation operation, publicly, on the record. While the funding bill hangs in the balance, the White House is scrambling. On Monday, Trump announced he was sending Tom Homan, his border czar, to Minneapolis to take direct control of operations. This was a stunning move. Homan reports directly to Trump, bypassing Kristi Noem entirely. The message was clear. Noem had lost control. The operation had become a political liability. Trump needed someone with more experience to stabilize the situation. But here is what the White House does not seem to understand. Sending Homan does not solve the fundamental problem. Democrats are not upset about personnel. They are upset about policy. They are upset about masked agents tear-gassing protesters. They are upset about American citizens being shot dead without due process. They are upset about an agency that operates without accountability, without transparency, without constitutional limits, and now the clock is ticking. Thursday morning, the Senate is scheduled to vote on cloture for the 6-bill appropriations package. If 60 senators vote yes, the bill advances. If they vote no, the bill dies, and based on everything we know, the bill is going to fail. Democrats are unified. Schumer has his caucus locked down, and several Republicans are already looking for the exit. That means the Senate will have less than 48 hours to find an alternative before the government shuts down. The options are limited. Thune could agree to separate the DHES bill and pass the other 5, but any changes to the package would require the House to vote again, and the House is in recess until Monday, February 3rd. They physically cannot vote before the deadline, which means even if the Senate passes 5 bills, there would still be a brief shutdown until the House reconvenes. The other option is a continuing resolution, a temporary funding measure that keeps the government running at current levels while negotiations continue. But the House Freedom Caucus has already warned that they will oppose any measure that does not include full DHES funding. They sent a letter to Trump demanding that Republicans hold the line, "No continuing resolution without ICE money." Do you see the trap? Trump needs all 53 Republican senators to stay unified. He needs the House Freedom Caucus to accept a deal. He needs Democrats to back down, and he needs all of this to happen in less than 72 hours. The math does not work. Something has to give. Either Trump caves and accepts ICE reforms, or Republicans break ranks and separate the bills, or the government shuts down and both parties bet that the other side will blink first. And here is the detail that should terrify everyone in the White House. A shutdown over ICE is different from every other shutdown in history. Usually, shutdowns hurt both parties roughly equally. The public blames everyone in Washington. But this shutdown has a clear villain. Federal agents shot an American nurse. The videos are everywhere. The administration lied about what happened, and now Republicans are asking Democrats to fund the agency that did it without any reforms. If the government shuts down Saturday morning, every furloughed federal worker, every delayed tax refund, every disrupted service will be blamed on one thing: Trump's refusal to hold ICE accountable. Democrats know this. That is why they are not backing down. Schumer has the political high ground, and he knows it. Senator Rand Paul, the Republican chair of the Homeland Security Committee, has already requested hearings. He wants the heads of ICE, Customs and Border Protection, and Citizenship and Immigration Services to testify before Congress on February 12th. He pointed out something remarkable. The Senate is debating another $10 billion for ICE, but Congress already locked in nearly $19 billion a year for 4 years through the One Big Beautiful Bill last year. Even if this funding bill fails completely, ICE will still have roughly 87% more funding than it had last year. The shutdown is not about whether ICE can operate. It is about whether ICE will face any accountability for how it operates. Let me tell you what I think happens next. Thursday, the cloture vote fails. Democrats hold the line. Several Republicans vote no or simply do not show up. Thune is forced to acknowledge that the six-bill package cannot pass as written. Friday, emergency negotiations begin. The White House faces a choice. Accept some version of Democratic demands on ICE, or watch the government shut down on live television while videos of Alex Pretty's death play on every cable news channel. Saturday at 12:01 a.m. If no deal is reached, the partial shutdown begins. Approximately 800,000 federal workers face furloughs or work without pay. Tax season, which just started Monday, faces potential disruptions. Air traffic controllers stay on duty but do not get paid. Head Start programs may close, leaving families without childcare, and through it all, ICE keeps operating. Because of that $76 billion war chest from last year, immigration enforcement continues even as the rest of the government grinds to a halt. The irony is devastating. Trump shut down the government to fund ICE, but ICE does not need the funding. The shutdown accomplishes nothing except political damage, and every day it continues, the pressure on Republicans intensifies. Monday, February 3rd, the House reconvenes. If Thune has agreed to separate the bills, the House can vote on the 5 non-DHES measures and reopen most of the government. But DHES would remain unfunded, operating on its reserve from the reconciliation bill, while Congress fights about reforms. This could drag on 4 weeks, maybe months. Every time an ICE agent does something controversial, the shutdown becomes a political weapon. Every time a federal worker misses a paycheck, the blame falls on Trump's immigration obsession. And here is what nobody in Washington wants to admit. Some Republicans are relieved. They do not want to defend the Minneapolis shootings. They do not want to explain why masked agents are tear-gassing protesters. They do not want their names attached to an agency that kills American citizens and then lies about it. A shutdown gives them cover. They can blame the Democrats. They can say they tried to fund the government, but Schumer blocked it. They can distance themselves from ICE without explicitly breaking with Trump. It is political cowardice disguised as procedural necessity. But Trump sees it differently. He sees betrayal. He sees weakness. He sees the same pattern that has defined his relationship with Senate Republicans for a decade. They support him when it is easy and abandon him when it gets hard. And if this shutdown drags on, if Republicans start publicly criticizing ICE, if senators like Collins and Kennedy and Rounds keep suggesting compromises that the White House opposes, Trump will do what he always does. He will attack. He will threaten primaries. He will call them traitors and Renos and deep state collaborators. He will turn a funding fight into a loyalty test, and some Republicans will fail that test, not because they want to, but because they have to. Because the alternative is defending the indefensible while their poll numbers collapse and their constituents demand answers. We are 48 hours from a government shutdown that could reshape American politics. We are watching the Republican coalition fracture over an agency that operates like an occupying army in American cities. We are witnessing the limits of executive power when that power is used to kill citizens without accountability. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications. The next 72 hours will determine whether Trump can hold his party together or whether the Senate finally draws a line. The votes are happening Thursday, the deadline is Friday midnight, and America is watching. Stay alert.